I had made the invitation um, in a public space of like, hey, like, I'm here if you want to talk about this. If there's something that's coming up for you, let me know. And I will prioritize sitting down, talking with you, moving through it together.
Yeah.
And after that, I was served with an ultimatum, and I just could not get on board with this ultimatum and was removed from a community group chat without being informed that that was
Wow.
going to happen. And I found myself on the floor of my house that night in some of the most hurtful experience, or one of the most hurtful experiences I'd ever had, just like so much pain in my heart.
Hi, you're listening to On Your Terms with me, Hayley Ryan. This is the show where two people get honest about the messy reality of choosing yourself. No scripts, no performance, just real conversation about self-abandonment, boundaries, and what it actually looks like to live on your own terms. So let's get into it. Welcome to today's episode. I am joined by Leah Drew, who is a somatic facilitator, nervous system specialist, and leadership consultant who helps high achieving women recover from burnout at root level, not just managing it. Welcome, Leah.
Thanks, Haley. I'm stoked to be here and have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited about this conversation. So, you essentially was in the spiritual community and you highlighted the harm being caused by the love and light movements and then got cancelled for it, essentially. Is that right?
This is true, yes.
Okay. So do you want to talk me through what it was like before you called it out, like the patterns you were seeing and specifically the ones that you were sort of going through yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, I still consider myself spiritual. And I think that spiritual means something different to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And someone finds themselves seeking spirituality. I believe that they're seeking a deeper connection to themselves through a greater power, which might be seen as God, as spirit, as source, as what someone might call the universe. And
Yeah.
I've gone through all the phases, right? Like when I came out of my like screw religion phase, I was very like, okay, I believe in the universe and I believe in the great spirit. And then I started healing my relationship with the word God and looking at what does God mean to me in comparison to what has people told me God is. And so I have been in so many different phases of my spiritual journey. And I would say, it really started with personal development
Okay.
years ago. There's kind of different chapters to this, and I'll explain each one just a little bit today, but started years ago with physical pain. And my actual first job ever in my life was working with chronic pain, chronic disease symptoms, and functional movement. And so people
Okay.
were coming to me from all over the world that had been failed by the medical system. And I really was on this journey with them of helping them learn to reconnect to themselves. And like that's where I really started to connect to this greater experience outside of myself, and went pretty deep into the personal development space and really going down the rabbit hole of trauma and emotions and epigenetics and the effect of all of these pieces on the way that we express into the world,
Mm.
physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And as I kept following the rabbit hole as we do, I was like taking a step back and looking at my life. I had a really successful business. I had a brick and mortar, so I had an office space in Boston, Massachusetts, and I was on paper really successful, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And like there was just something missing. Like I wasn't super unhappy, but I'd constantly be like treating people in my clinic and dreaming of traveling around the world and being in these amazing places. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here in these four walls with no windows. Like, what am I doing with my life? And
Yeah.
so this is really where my journey with spirituality started. I moved across the country to California, from Boston to California to LA,
Wow.
right before quarantine. And I landed in a house that literally I found on Facebook, and it looked like the most perfect place to do mushrooms. And I was like, whoa, like, okay, I want to explore. Like, this is really cool. And I had tried mushrooms like one or two times, maybe three, but like small microdoses up until
Mm.
that point in time. And so I move across the country, get locked in this house in this space with two other couples who I later found out were what we call burners, or people that like frequent Burning Man.
Yeah.
And so over the next 8 months, I ended up exploring as many different psychedelics as I could possibly get my hands on. And that just blew the ceiling off of everything that I thought in life. And simultaneously, I was just exposed to so many new modalities, to ecstatic dancing, to platonic cuddling, like sharing physical touch with my friends, and it not being weird, and it being normal, and just this exchange of love. And so I really started entering the spiritual space at this point in my life. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is really for me. And I just continued to connect with more of my creativity, more of my self expression, more of like this, like these parts of myself that I always knew were there, and I always knew like existed, but I couldn't really tap into it. The way I
Yeah.
think about it is, when you're a kid and you're just like in imagination land, and you're building forts, and you're like roaming through the forest with your friends barefoot, and like things just feel magical,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah,
Have you experienced that?
definitely. Oh yeah, like when I was a kid, we used to have like this little fort in the woods, and we'd go there, and we were convinced like there was like fairies and all sorts, and it was amazing. And then life hit, and things got
That's the
complicated.
thing, right? It's like life hits, and then we give up this piece of ourselves, which
Yeah.
is always there within us. And so I actually am really curious, when you think about being a kid and being in the forest and having this space that you used to play in, how did you feel? Like, how did that make you feel as a kid?
Content, happy, peaceful, and like nothing else mattered in that moment other than like being with my friends and doing what I was doing, really.
I love that. And a lot of my perspective and my experience has shown me that society and our conditioning really dulls that, really, really makes an impact on those
Yeah.
pieces, the pieces of us that, like all of a sudden everything except that matters. All of a sudden, everything except our freedom, our creativity, our happiness, our joy, our play, right? Our
Yeah.
excitement, our imagination, everything matters except those things.
Yeah. And you're just
And
labeled as too much or like
mm,
over the top, dramatic.
especially as a woman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
And this goes so much into the depths of my work too, is looking at these feminine wounds, because men have them too. Men have these wounds too. They may not identify as a woman, but they have a masculine and a feminine, as women
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
So we'll come back to the whole "I'm too much" piece, because this is going to for sure come up in this conversation. so,
It's a big
so
it's a big
it's
topic.
huge. It's huge. So big bookmark for this, because I
Yeah.
love big, and so we're gonna do all the things big today.
Why not? Why not?
So, so I move across the country to California, and this is where I found myself. This is where I just got to explore and be with all of these pieces that I was told is too much. I was told is outrageous. I was told is like doesn't fit in, you know? And
Yeah.
I had so many life experiences leading up to this. Like, when I tell you I've had some of the craziest life stories that like we can save for another point in time. There are moments, and many moments in my life where I I would express myself in these ways, and I got in a lot of trouble for it. Like, literally, even through like the legal system, would
Mm.
got in trouble for expressing myself and my sensuality, and not in a overtly like bad way. I wasn't harming anyone.
Yeah.
And so that also played a role in my too muchness. But Callie was like, "Girl, you're not too much. You're just like in love with life, and you get to be."
And there's
Hell yes,
nothing
girl.
wrong with that. I think more people should be that way because that's what we're here for. Like I'm quite spiritual myself, and I do like I'm a certified soul realignment practitioner.
So I believe that we are all here to live the gifts that we are given at soul level when we're created by source, and that is the whole point of being. It's just to experience life from a certain lens and enjoy the time you've got in this body.
Yes, so much yes to this. Because we literally only have one life in this temple that we are
Yeah, it's
inhabiting. This
it's not a dress rehearsal. It's happening right
no.
now.
And so this is I'm so in alignment with this. This is why I live my life the way that I do. And people are like, "You're ridiculous. I'm just gonna live vicariously through you." And I'm like, "But why? Like you can
Yeah,
do it too in your own way."
yeah,
So, long story short, I moved from California to Colorado. And I knew my values. I knew what was important to me. I knew that I needed to be a part of community. I knew these things that I had unraveled living in California.
yeah,
And when I was in Colorado, I ended up getting in I landed in connection with a group of people. And these are amazing people. And I want to really like preface this part of my story in this chapter with that of like these are some of the most amazing people that I've ever had the opportunity to deepen in relationship with in my life.
mm,
Um I have no like anger or hate for them at this point. I've moved through many stages of grief and I love them. I love every single one of them. And I ended up getting involved with this group of people and we were very, very close. I was track my body as I'm like telling the story. So you notice I'm like clearing my
yeah,
throat now. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, and I ended up becoming one of the center points of this community. I am a gatherer, I am a leader. I'm somebody, if you can't tell at this point in the conversation, like I play big and I
yeah,
love to be big and I love to be expressive. And it's a permission slip for people. And that's part of my magic and my medicine in this
yeah,
world, being that permission slip. And I had a community home, and ultimately things were really, really good for a long time until they weren't so good anymore. And a lot of what I saw was happening was I was really nudging people into bigger levels of responsibility of, hey, you're talking this talk, let's walk this walk together.
mm,
And there was a lot of like dragging of feet. And I'm someone that tends to grow pretty fast and evolve pretty quickly and own my things when they come up, my ish when it comes up,
yeah,
you know? And I just wasn't feeling like I was being met in that. I felt like there was a lot of avoidance. And, you know, in these types of spaces, there can be a lot of language that's used that leads to somebody feeling like they belong, leading someone to feel like this is their family, that I got you, you're safe here, which I think is
mm.
actually a red flag when you tell somebody that they're safe because that is for somebody else to choose.
Yeah,
And
you can't determine whether somebody else is safe or not. They have to feel
yeah,
that themselves.
and that's one of the things that I see a lot in the spiritual community is telling somebody that they're safe.
Yeah,
And I think that is a pretty big yellow flag to me. Even if we
yeah,
want to go so far as saying red flag. And even in my spaces, when I open my containers, when I facilitate, I always be very clear is I am not going to tell you that you're safe. That is not for me to decide.
yeah,
And I'm going to do my very, very best to create a space where you do feel safe.
yeah. And that's all you can do. All you can do is try to create a safe space for them,
Mhm.
but then to them whether or not that matches with their internal nervous system regulation.
Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of what was happening was that there was some us versus them language that started being used, which, to be honest, is actually getting into cult psychology. And I did
Mm,
work with a cult psychologist after I had this whole experience. It was really eye opening to see some of these parallels between what I had gone through and what other people go through that actually emerge from cults. And this was not in any way, shape, or form a cult, but it was the psychology of some of the things that
yeah,
happened that I was trying to unravel myself from of like, "Oh my god, like, how did I land here? How did I get trapped in this?" Because to me, I am so loyal. I am someone that when conflict comes up, if there's an elephant in the room, if there's discomfort in the space, I am going to step forward and I'm going to be with you in it. I'm
Yeah.
somebody that stays with things within myself, even if that means we part ways. I stay and I communicate until we decide, hey, like, okay, I think it's best for us to actually go on our own separate ways.
Yeah.
And so, in regards to patterns that were really coming up, there was a lot of avoidance that was happening when conflict did arise. And it was really hard to navigate because when I'm stepping forward to the table and
Mm.
others are avoiding the conversation, 6 months go by and there's still conversations that hadn't been had, that creates a massive dissonance in the field. And so there's a lot of things that went down in this space that really, on the other side, looking back, I grew out of it. I grew out of the space a lot faster than others grew out of the space. And since a lot of others have dispersed from the community, it's not
Yeah.
as connected. Um, but it was really, really challenging for me. And it's led me to see how so much of this love and light community is dressed up with avoidance. And there's a lot of masks being worn where there's people pleasing, there's perfection, there's performance. These are the three primary feminine wounds that I've identified in my line of work. And there's so many other wounds that fall under each one of these categories. But when the people pleasing, the perfection, and the performance is there, usually people are striving to be a part of community spaces like this because they want to be loved, they want to be accepted,
Yeah.
right? They're afraid of judgment. And so they put themselves in this neatly tied box where they can show up in these spiritual spaces at ecstatic dances and be this image of the spiritual woman or the spiritual man, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're actually holding so much of themselves back. And as I personally went through this journey, one of the things that came up for me was rage. I got really angry. And that was one of the big things that I was really shunned for was my level of anger. And there's a
Mm.
big difference between making your anger someone else's problem and directing your anger at others. And I take full ownership of like there were moments where I did that. I was
Yeah.
also simultaneously navigating severe mold toxicity, so it made this a lot harder for it's looking back, I'm just like, "This is hilarious." Like, I think mold comes into your life to really tell you, like, "Hey, you're done with this."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's been quite the journey, but after being served an ultimatum that prior to being served this ultimatum, I had made the invitation, um, in a public space of like, "Hey, like, I'm here if you want to talk about this. If there's something that's coming up for you, let me know, and I will prioritize sitting down, talking with you, moving through it together."
Yeah.
And after that, I was served with an ultimatum, and I just could not get on board with this ultimatum and was removed from a community group chat without being informed that that was
Wow.
going to happen. And I found myself on the floor of my house that night in some of the most hurtful experience or one of the most hurtful experiences I'd ever had, just like so much pain in my heart that this people that I called my family, that I would have done so much and gone out of my way for,
Yeah.
that I was just like deleted, canceled.
Yeah.
And it was
And
in that moment that I was like, can't do this anymore.
yeah.
I'm done here.
And I think that's relatable to a lot of people, isn't it? Because it's I see it a lot in the spiritual communities online, and it's one of the reason why I kind of stepped away a little bit, because people tend to join because they all preach like unconditional love and acceptance, and like you say, belonging. And I feel like as especially as women as well, I know obviously men have rejection issues as well, but I think as women we one of our massive fears is rejection. So to find a community that's like unconditionally accepts everybody for who they are is amazing. And I think that's what draws a lot of people in, even when they're not really sure about like how spiritual they are and things like that. But when you actually kind of look at certain aspects of it, there's a lot of toxic positivity, there's a lot of
Mm,
spiritual bypassing.
So much
And
spiritual bypassing.
to me, it's like I was getting attacked because I will openly admit, like, I've done Vipassana, I've done like multiple modalities of meditation to see if I can find something that I like. And I have to be in the mood to meditate. I can't, it's not something that I can do as my daily practice. It doesn't work for me. Same with yoga and things like that. And I was getting attacked for it because it's like, well, you can't be spiritual if you're not doing meditation because you're not comfortable sitting with your wounds. It's like, no, I've done a lot of work to get where I am and to work on myself and sit with the uncomfortable parts. And the reason I don't like meditation isn't because I can't sit with this uncomfortable, like this discomfort. It's because it doesn't appeal to me.
It's
And
just not your way.
yeah, and you get attacked for it. And to me, spirituality isn't about performance. It's not about performing yoga or performing meditation. It's about how you live your day consciously. And the ability to go internal and work on the things that need to be worked on. Like I like the bit that you said about the anger, like that really resonates with me because I've had a lot of situations where like I get really frustrated and angry and turn it outward because I'm one of these people that tend to keep things very internalized. And then when I hit a certain point, it explodes essentially. And there was a lot of resentment build up and things and I've worked on that. And that to me is spirituality, that being able to do the difficult things and make the difficult choices and live your life in a way that aligns with who you actually are is is what it's all about. Not, well, do you like crystals? Do you do tarot? Do you do all these like things that people say are spiritual? And it's all just
And they can help, right?
yeah.
Like there are moments that those can be your choice of something that helps you feel more deeply connected. But
Yeah.
like it to me, I agree with you. It's like, what do you need here now?
Yeah.
Because there's no system that is going to save you. There's no way, there's no one right way of spirituality. It means something different to everyone. And I
Yeah. And
do
that's
think in the
perfectly
spiritual,
okay.
it's more than okay. It's
Yeah.
fucking sorry, like, but
No.
it's swearing okay here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything
Sometimes
goes.
it falls out of my knife, out of my mouth. You know, like it's so needed. The difference is so needed because that's what makes our world so unique.
Yeah.
But I think that we live in a society right now that's told us that differences are not good and we're actually battling each other for our differences instead of fucking celebrating each other in our differences being like, "Oh my god, that's your superpower." Like,
Yeah.
yes,
And
queen,
could
get
you
it.
imagine how boring the world would be if everybody was the same and we didn't have those differences? It
Insanely boring. Like, I don't want to be a part of
I
that.
can't even imagine a world where
No,
that
thank
is a
you.
thing.
I opt out. Bye.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know, I think when I call this like living out loud. This is kind of my movement in my business. Is like what does it look like for you to live out loud? And live out loud doesn't necessarily mean be the big boisterous extroverted one in the room in the spotlight that like ah, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that, but like living out loud is like who are you? Who are you
Yeah.
at your core? Who do you love to be? How do you love to be? What lights you up, turns you on, makes you feel alive, and how can you be more of that in every
Yeah.
single space that you're in? And that is living out loud. That is living your true essence, your true self, and
Yeah.
living in a world where we're battling each other because you find it everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, like LinkedIn. It's crazy. It's like you're wrong. You're wrong. Actually like I love all of this feedback. Can we just
Yeah.
take it and like swallow it? And it requires people to look at themselves and challenge their own beliefs, which people have a really difficult time doing,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
you've challenged
Definitely.
your own ways. You've tried Vipassana, you've tried yoga, you've tried these things. And it's like, cool, like maybe sometimes I'll reach for this, but it's not
Yeah.
the thing that is your way. And that's like, you've gone through this process of taking the reflections of other people, of other things, of other experiences, looking inward and being like, actually, this is what feels really, really good for me.
Yeah.
Let's keep going with my way. So
Yeah.
props to you for living out loud.
Well, that's like the whole point of what I do is like it's very similar to what you're teaching. Like I teach people to live on their own terms and to figure out what their values are, not the values that they think they should be living, and to basically discover and recognize what their non-negotiables are so they can live out loud, as you say.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I love soul realignment and human design to an extent, because it kind of like, for me especially, it gave me permission. I feel like, because it was highlighting things about me that were different to who I thought I was and who I was trying to be for everybody else. And just having that information, I already knew it. Like it was already there. I already knew. I just needed something to give me permission to go, well, yeah, actually I am different. So why am I trying to fit in and please everybody else and making myself miserable in the process?
Yeah. And you have to look at these things in order to choose a different way. This is one of the
Yeah.
things that I move through with my clients. And this is literally the process I lead people through in my free workbook. And you can, if you're listening to this, you can click the link there to grab the free workbook in the show notes. But you know, when you recalibrate your feminine power, this is what the whole workbook is about. You move through an identity shift. And in order to move from point A to point B, from where you're at right now and who you're living as, the habits that you're embodying, the ways you're thinking, the things you're doing, right? All these things, you have to look at where you're at right now. And then also take a look at like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? And what actions, habits, patterns are aligned with what's happening now and what
Yeah.
aren't, right? And then this is where we then start to move through transitions in our lives. And this is the work that I love to help women do, especially women who have built so much success in their lives that sit back and they're like, oh my God, where'd my happiness go? Like, where's my joy?
Yeah.
Where's my aliveness? I've sold myself for this idea of success that ultimately is like someone telling me that money is going to buy me happiness.
Yeah.
But most women sacrifice themselves to become somebody because they're living in a world that was built for a man that leads them to compete, to perform, to do more, to push harder, to grind. And then they lose themselves and their feminine essence and their creative life force energy and all the things that make them powerful and sexy and unique and incredible. Their
Yeah.
creativity, like their power, all of it. They lose touch with it in this chase for success, in this chase up the ladder, right? This race up the ladder. And so, you know, to me, that is one of the most incredible moments for me in my life is that moment, whether it's a client, whether it's a sister, whether it's somebody that I'm talking to on a podcast, it's that moment where I get to witness a woman go, oh my God, I am
Yeah.
deserving of so much more in my life. And I
Yeah.
can have so much more in my life than I've allowed myself to experience at the point in time.
Yeah. And I don't think it helps as well that we live in a world where identity is such a big thing. Like everybody feels like they need a label.
Yep.
And it's like, well, why? Why do you need one label? You can have multiple labels and just be yourself and be proud of who you are and live life how you want to live it. Why do you need a label like mom, wife, daughter, sister? And it's like, that's, you are so much more than those words.
Mhm.
And
And
people
they're
just,
really just like language that we have tried to like use as a way to describe ourselves, but actually just like we've literally made it up.
yeah, because it's like I know people and they'll introduce themselves. It's like people they'll be talking to people. I'm like, oh, I'm so and so's wife. It's like, no, you're Sarah.
What do you think is like for you? What's the label that you gave yourself for so long that you then one day were like, oh my God,
The good girl.
oh, that's a good one.
Mm.
Yeah.
I am a people pleaser in recovery.
Mhm.
I was brought up to follow the rules and always be present and polite and good and do the right thing and be good at school and be successful and like literally like my whole, I'd say like the first 35 years of my life were spent as the good girl.
Good girl.
And just trying to make everybody else happy. And I suffered as a result. And it took me a long time to
Well,
realize.
I'm glad that you have been able to catch yourself in that pattern and
Yeah.
really reclaim the parts of yourself that you were holding back. What do you feel like you said like you were suffering? What was the things that you were suffering
Uh,
with?
I think I just didn't really know who I was. I didn't know who I
Mm,
was. I didn't know what I wanted out of life because I'd spent so much time trying to just be liked for everything. And I I feel like I was a bit more like a chameleon. Like I'd go into a room and I'd just be who the room needed me to be. And I feel like it it put me in a position where I didn't have any community, because how can you really accept somebody when you don't know that person? So I just felt like the majority of it, I felt just really lonely, and like I didn't know who I was because I'd spent so much time trying to be what everybody else wanted or needed, and they didn't ask me to be that person. I just took that on.
mhm. So common for women. Like this
Yeah,
is one of like the good girls is one of the masks that many women wear
yeah,
because they're moving because of this people pleasing wound, right?
yeah,
And it prevents women from being themselves like you're explaining here. But it's a conditioning, it's something that we've learned to do as to be accepted, as to be liked, right? As to be successful. And so many successful women are literally experiencing this. And a
yeah,
lot of times they find themselves like in this place of they're not super unhappy, but they're also not thriving either.
yeah,
And oftentimes, it's like m- my favorite is like when you ask a woman, "Oh, how are you? Like, what's going on? How are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm fine."
yeah.
I'm like, Okay,
Are you really?
cool." Like, yeah. As I go, well, what does fine mean to you? Right. And that to me is one of the yellow flags when a woman's like, I'm good or I'm okay or I'm fine. It's like
Yeah,
usually to me, like if you're giving me one of those, if you're expressing one of those, there's a sign there that you're not actually thriving.
yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Do you find yourself as an entrepreneur and as what in the things that you're working on in your world now, do you ever find yourself rubbing back up against that edge or of that wound there?
Yeah, sometimes I'm a lot more aware of it now, so I tend to catch myself before I sort of tip over into like tip backwards. But it's like I have noticed, like if I'm like my neighbor, her husband was in hospital a couple of months ago, and I was like, "Oh, if you need anything, just come and knock on." And then I walked away, and I was like, "Anything, really?" It's like, am I going to end up driving her to the hospital at like 4 a.m. or like have her knocking on my door at stupid o'clock in the morning because she needs something? And it's like, and then I sort of went back. I was like, if you need somebody to walk the dogs, I'll walk the dogs for you, because that to me doesn't make any difference because I walk my dog anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like
Right.
it's like that thing of catching and going back and going, well, actually, I spoke a bit out of turn there. Ignore what I just said. This is what I meant.
And there's so much in what you're explaining here that to me is the art of communication.
Yeah,
Of and to be able to communicate really effectively, you have to know what your own boundaries are and what your own desires are,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
Because if you're not connected with those, you're going to end up sacrificing your own self for someone else. And so I love that you catch yourself because we're not perfect. Like, I'm not
No,
a perfect human. There are moments in time that I run into my own edges and I'm like, oh my God, what did you just sign up for? And then I have a little laugh with myself. And then I go, okay, we get to have a conversation to like, to change this
yeah,
here, what you just did, and that's fine. That's part of humaning. Like, you're gonna be messy. You're meant to be messy because that's how you freaking learn.
yeah. And I
Even if you're
don't
trying
think
to
that that's the other thing with toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing. It's like everybody wants to make out that like life is amazing once you've turned to spirituality, and
mm,
things are great. And it's like life is full of ups and downs. It's not
mhm,
just like
No, it's not just rainbows and butterflies and
it's
sunshine all the
it's
fucking
it's,
time.
it's
Like,
peaks and troughs. It's things happen, and sometimes they're in your control because of choices you've made. Sometimes things happen that are beyond your control because, and it's how you react to them that sort of matter then. But
yes.
life isn't always just sunshine and rainbows.
No. It'd be lovely, like, don't get me wrong, like, that would be fantastic, but also I wouldn't be where I am today
Yeah.
if it wasn't. Like, you know what, so this week, I'll share, there's, like, so many things that I could share here, but, actually, before I go into that, one of the things I wanna add, so tonight, before I jumped on here with you, I was sitting with, a couple of my friends, and we were having this conversation, and we were talking about leadership. And
Mm,
that's everything that my work surrounds is how do you lead yourself? And then therefore, how do you lead the world by leading yourself first?
yeah.
And, you know, everyone's a leader. If you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not a leader. Yes, you are. You're a leader of yourself. You're a leader in your home. You're a leader in your family. You're a leader in your workplace. You're a leader with your friends. Like, you lead by being you. You lead your family. You lead your partners. You lead in your business. Anyways, we're having this conversation, and one of my friends was just going on and on and on about how freaking amazing her boss is. Like, how much she loves this person so much. And she had story after story after story of why he is such an incredible human and why he's such an amazing boss. And a lot of it came back to his boundaries, his
Yeah.
communication, him choosing himself first, him not sacrificing his values and his desires in what he's building in the world. And
Yeah.
if you want to know what company I'm talking about, it's Earth Runners. I don't know if you're familiar with this brand. It is one of the most incredible brands of shoe wear. It's functional footwear, but they're
Mm.
also grounding shoes. And so they're these super comfortable sandals that have copper embedded into the bottom of them so that you're actually absorbing the energy from the earth. You're literally
Wow.
earthing and grounding while you're wearing them. And that supports with reducing inflammation, it supports with optimizing health, all the things. And so that's one of the things I always love to say is like, this is literally, this company is not amazing just because of their product. The inside of this company is incredible. The way they treat their, like, he doesn't even call his people employees, he calls them coworkers.
Wow.
Like, right? That's the kind of leader that we need more of in the world. And in
Yeah.
order to be that kind of leader, you have to look at yourself. You have to look at the places where you've sacrificed yourself, where you have shown up in a way as to be liked, as to be loved, as to be accepted, right?
Mm.
And look at, like, coming back to the what we were talking about earlier of these labels. What are the labels that you've taken on to try to be a certain way, or or just maybe not be fully who you are? Try
Yeah.
to define yourself, put yourself in a box. And I know for me in the spiritual community, my experience, not to be honest and direct or anything, but my experience has been that people take on the word spirituality when they're seeking affirmation that they're connected to themselves.
Yeah. Makes
I'm a
sense.
spiritual person. I'm a conscious person. Yeah, you are. I'm like, but like, do you have to tell it to the whole world? You know,
Yeah.
like,
And
or can you just be it and people recognize, like, oh, like this person's deeply connected to themselves and they've done some work
yeah.
on themselves and you feel it. And that's to me an embodied leader. And you can literally know because they walk through a room, they don't have to say a word and you can feel them.
Yeah. And it sounds funny, doesn't it? Because obviously, like with spirituality as well, it's a lot of it is about energy. And you, like you say, you can feel that energy. You don't need that label because you possess that energy, and that's the energy that you sort of emit to the world.
Yep.
And yeah, it's ridiculous how we're constantly trying to sort of fit specific labels that we think we should fit. And I think a lot of it is to try and convince ourselves as much as it is to try and convince the world.
And I will tell you that chapter in Colorado, I was trying to convince myself of a whole lot of things.
So tell,
And you know what? It was good while it was good. It was great. It was an amazing chapter of my life. I am who I am today because of
yeah,
it. And I grew out of it. And here's the thing. Most people grow out of things and stay in them. Most
Yeah.
people do not put the fearless hat on, step into the unknown, and do something different. Like, I literally moved out of the United States. I moved out of Colorado and I moved out of the United States to set off on my own journey because I love to travel. This is what makes me the happiest. But like, I wanted to choose and carve my own path.
Mm.
And I'm not saying you have to like move out of the country to build your life, but what is the thing that you're actually craving you want more of that you're not prioritizing? Like, don't sit here and say, oh, I wish I had that, or I'm going to live vicariously through that person. And like, wow, that would be so nice. Let's actually take a step back and look at what you're not choosing right now.
Yeah,
Right. And
definitely.
so, I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful that I grew out of that container. I am grateful that I chose to walk away from something that was no longer supporting me, that was no longer lighting me up, that was no longer meeting me in the level of bigness that I wanted to walk through the world as and
Yeah.
with. And this past week, I joined one of the most expansive masterminds, the most money I have ever put towards any personal development container, any business container in my life. And the reason why I did it was because I wanted to be in this woman's energy, because in her field, I was immediately expanded. I was activated. I am in a room of women who are unapologetically playing so big right now. Like, names of people that I have been like awing for years are in this realm. And I'm like, oh, I had to walk away from the container that led me to turn myself down, to play small, to dim my shine, to silence my bigness, to be in the spaces with people that are going all out and living out loud.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So what sort of things are you still struggling with them? Because obviously you've mentioned a few times you're still navigating certain patterns and you still like you catch yourself at times as well. What does that look like for you?
Hmm. I would say there's this energetic recalibration that happens. And similarly to what you've shared, it
Mm.
is it's not about right. Let's the thing that you're probably calling a mistake, it's not actually a mistake.
Yeah.
But that thing that you're labeling as a mistake, it's not about it not happening. It's about you having the awareness and being about able to identify faster and faster and faster when it happens.
Yeah.
And so for me, in my world right now, my challenge is staying in this level of bigness unapologetically without tripping,
Mm.
and me noticing the moments where I play a little bit smaller, where maybe I don't pitch my 10x offer to a client that very obviously wants to be in my world and wants to work with me. When I know for a fact that this woman being in my world, she's literally going to become the most magnificent, electric, unapologetic, like in, powerful queen that builds the most extraordinary life she's ever had.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's catching myself in the moments where I don't play big, where I don't play as big as I can, and where I'm not allowing myself to get uncomfortable.
Yeah. Amazing. To be fair, I saw something on Substack Notes this morning, and it made me like it's that's just coming to my mind from speaking to you now, and it is literally um, imagine how much the world would be able to achieve if everybody was delusional.
Ugh, that's
And I
hot.
think that's it, isn't it? It's like basically, if you're delusional, you automatically play big and don't worry about the social implications or anything like that. And I think I do sometimes think like sometimes I wish I was delusional and could just play that big all the time without having to like you say worry about tripping or anything like that, because it would make things so much easier. But then I don't think you'd appreciate it as much because you haven't gone through the hardship to get there for it to be such a big thing.
What if you were more delusional? Like, what would you do if you were like the next level of delusional right now?
Oh, I think I'm already fairly delusional, to be fair.
Like, even for me, like, there's always that like next level of like delusion that I've just
Yeah.
like not tapped into yet, you know?
Yeah. But it's like for me, if I could achieve anything, I would literally have multiple best-selling books. I'd be speaking on world stages. I would be um hosting my own talk shows, and it's things that I'm working to, and I know I can get there. It's just like that sort of delusional part of me thinks it can happen quicker than I
Mhm.
I can physically make it happen.
And that's why I believe so deeply in the power of mentorship, but not just mentorship, but the power of community
Yeah.
and mentorship. Because when you're in rooms with people that light you up, that you're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that like I could choose this, that it was possible that I could be this delusional until I entered this woman's space or this man's space or like whoever this is or whatever it is, it's like more of that, like
Yeah.
more of the delusion, because you are going to absolutely have this talk show. You are going to be on national stages. You're going to be speaking. You're going to write the most incredible books. Like, I don't even know what your books are going to fully be about yet, but like, I just know that they're going to be absolutely insanely, incredibly binge worthy. And so it's like, you already know this is going to happen.
Yeah.
How do you collapse the time and make it happen faster? And
Yeah.
the only way to do that is to get in the room with people that have already done it, that are inspiring you to work faster, but not necessarily harder. Like
Yeah.
you can like up the speed dial by just like taking fast action
Yeah.
without burning yourself into the ground, right? Without being on 24/7, like working all day, not getting up out of your chair, right? Like not taking care of yourself, not getting your sunshine. You don't have to sacrifice yourself in order
Yeah.
to play big and
Yeah.
to take fast action.
Yeah. And I'm one of these people who like I don't do well with I like generating ideas myself. I respond to the people around me, the environment, things that are going on. But when I find something that lights me up, like I can literally just work, and I forget about time. Like I'll forget about eating, I'll forget about drinking. I will just like I will be so focused on what I'm doing that I will get stuff done really quickly. Like I put a whole course together in like 48 hours because I was so in the zone that I had something to respond to and just got it done. But then there's other times where there's nothing that lights me up, so it's just like, all right, I'm just gonna play my guitar today and sing some songs and chill out and relax and have some downtime, because that prepares me then for like the like the sprints and the bursts of
Mhm.
productivity that I have.
It's okay to sprint. It's okay to have those productive
Yeah.
chapters and moments in time. And this is where that balance of the masculine and feminine comes in. Because here's the piece that I haven't talked about, and then we could go on an entire another rabbit hole about this. But the way that women are functioning in this world, the pushing, the producing, the being on all the time, taking everything on herself, carrying everything
Mm,
on her shoulders, it's destroying her hormone. It's destroying her
yeah.
body. It's destroying her fertility. Like, that's a problem in humanity. And it's happening so widespread across our world. And it's actually like being seen as just like, it's fine and it's
Yeah.
normal. And this is a part of life.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not okay. And this is where I feel really called to preach this and scream it from the mountaintops and create as many possible spaces as I can where women can recognize this more and be a permission slip for every other woman in her life to
Yeah.
find that harmony between masculine and feminine, to have the moments of sprint and have the moments of speed, but also be able to have moments of rest and rejuvenation and recovery and creativity and playing our guitar and dancing in the rain, right? And just like
Yeah.
being in the sunshine with her book. Like all of these things are so important to find balance and harmony and success without the stress.
Yeah. And I think it's important as well to think about like your relationship with self-care, because I think again, like some of the things in the love and light and toxic positivity movements, a lot of the time people think, oh well, I need to have a bath with candles because that's self-care. And it's like, well, if you're doing that because you think you should, not because
Mhm.
that's what you enjoy, that's not self-care. that's performance. So
And
it's
that brings us
yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead. Don't be sorry, be sexy.
But yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? A lot of the time
Wait, I wanna
we're
hear you
kind of,
say it. Say I'm sexy.
I'm sexy.
Yeah, girl. Like,
But
don't
yeah,
bypass over that. Come on.
but yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? A lot of the time we're performing self-care because we think it's what we should be doing, but it's not necessarily something that brings us joy. And I think to be true self-care, it needs to be something that brings you joy, whether that's like dancing around in your underwear like an idiot, or hula hooping in the garden, or playing guitar and singing. It's whatever is fun and brings you joy, rather than what other people see as self-care.
So much. I think you make such a good point. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Right. And that's coming back to what we were talking about earlier. You have to be connected to your wants,
Yeah.
right? To your desires and to your needs. What works for somebody else is not going to work for you. And this is where I see a lot of the messiness happening is women are trying on a system or strategy like they're putting on somebody else's hat or outfit thinking that it's going to work for them and they're going to feel so good in it and actually like they don't like the fabric, like that color is not what looks good with her skin tone, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
actually, this is not for me. And most women don't take time to slow down enough to really tune in and say, like, is this for me? And if they know, even if it is or if it isn't, maybe they do know that, but
Yeah.
maybe they're actually not like following that. And maybe they're avoiding that because they're like, I don't have time for it, or people are gonna judge me for this, or like, I can't do that in my day to day. Like, I don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. That's where your aliveness comes from. That's where your creativity comes from, is doing the things that bring you joy. And the
Yeah.
things that
And
bring
if
you joy are going to turn you on and light you up and then allow you to make such a massive impact in the world around you. Even if you're not a business owner or even if you're not like a woman in business, you probably are doing something in your life,
yeah, whether
whether
you're a
that's
mom, whether
that.
you're, yeah, whatever.
And you can still make an impact.
Yeah. And I think if you're trying to find something that brings you joy and you're drawing a blank, then going back to the conversation we had towards the beginning of the podcast episode, look back to when you were a kid. What sort of things did you enjoy then? Why can't you do it now? It's like my husband is very, very tightly wound, and he hasn't been diagnosed, but he's very, very OCD personality type. And he's constantly pottering, constantly busy, and you can just see the stress oozing off him. And we were walking through the park with the dog the other day, and somebody had put a rope swing up, and I was like, "Go have a go," and they couldn't get him off it. And he was like, "Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to. What will people?" I was like, "Just go have a go," because he'd been looking at it every lap we'd done. He'd been looking at it as if to say like, "Oh, that looks fun." And I was like, "Go have a go." And like I say, I struggled to get him off it then, because like it brought back the memories from his childhood of him
Mhm.
playing on the swings, and it brought him joy. And for those like 2 minutes of our day, he had a little bit of fun, and you could see the stress just melt away.
Fun?
Yeah.
Reduces your stress?
Who'd
What
have thought?
do you even mean? What are you even talking about? No. I
Who'd have
love that
thought?
so much for him. Yeah, I had a similar experience. I held a ceremony for a man a month and a half ago, and in the ceremony we were working on like just he's a serial entrepreneur carrying so much on his shoulders, doing so
Yeah.
many things, and just like didn't want to show up for any of it anymore, and was
Mm.
just like not having the conversations, not leading, and he's doing some incredible work in the world, like making really high quality education available to people and children that like really can't afford it. Like he's doing amazing work in the world. And and so we're in the ceremony together, and as we were connecting to some inner child work, he realized that he used to have so much fun and he used to play, and and his inner child like wanted to play, but like he wasn't being allowed to play.
Oh,
And so the whole rest of the night it was all about like fun and play and bringing that in. And so it was a full moon and we're like howling at the full moon together and we're dancing around the space together, and we're
That's so
jumping
precious.
on the bed, howling, and like it was just I got to watch him laugh again in a way that he hadn't in so long.
Wow.
And the following day, he looked at me and he was like, I'm ready to go home and I'm ready to lead my family and I'm ready to lead my business. And I'm actually excited. And let's go.
That's so powerful. I love it.
Men need it too. We
Yeah.
all need it. We all need to connect with the play. Like, honestly, if anyone is listening to this and you're like, I haven't played in a long time, like, go get on the ground on your hands and your knees and crawl around your home in front of somebody and make the most absurd animal noise that you can make in your life. Like, just do something that is absolutely absurd and crazy and ridiculous. Go build a fort in your living room so that
Yeah.
when your partner comes home or your kid comes home, they're like, what are you doing over there? Like, I don't know. You wanna come find out with me?
You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's my dream to walk home and for someone to be building like a real life adult fort that I'm like can like lay in later and have popcorn and like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the TV show Community, and that's one of the running jokes through there is like this blanket fort that they keep building, and it's like it just keeps expanding across episodes, and it's amazing. It's like it's so tempting.
Oh, I love that. It sounds like maybe like some fort building could be in your future.
Yeah, probably.
I want a photo of that.
It's only 2:30, so why not?
Exactly. Like, why not? You know, I think
That is my new motto. It's like, why not? If someone
send it,
suggests
girl.
it, like, why not? Give it a
Send it,
try.
girl. Yeah.
You don't know if you don't like it unless you give it a try. So why not?
Yeah, and I think that like anybody that's listening to this and they're like, I want more of that in my life, but I don't know how to do it. And I don't know where to start and feeling like they're stuck and just like can't figure out how to make a change. This is where I think my free workbook could be really supportive and really powerful to really like
Yeah.
zoom out because it's so hard to look at your own ish, to like look at your own self, but when somebody else is guiding you through it, it can be a little bit easier at
Mm,
times. Or like ask
yeah.
somebody what they see. You know, ask someone you love or care about for a reflection of what they see, right? Judgment free. Like if you ask someone for a reflection, like you got to put the whole defensiveness thing down and be like, "Thank you for your reflections. I will sit with this and think about it and actually reflect on it."
Yeah.
Wow, imagine that. But I think this is where my feminine power recalibration workbook can be really supportive for men and women because it allows them to really look at what's this identity that they've been functioning from and what's the life that it's literally led to them living and experiencing, right? What do they like about that? What do they not like? Like, what are the sticky points?
Yeah.
And how do they start to take the steps into experiencing something different and having a different journey in life? And it's also really pretty. So,
I love that. So for those who aren't sort of ready to commit to the workbook and just want to kind of dip their toe in a little bit, how would they go about connecting with you and sort of finding out a little bit more about you?
sure. You can come hang out with me on Instagram, follow me there. I know the link's in the bio, but my company name is Mind Body with Leah, and I'm literally that on all platforms. So you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and all and YouTube and all the places with that. But I'm yeah, just like I'm unhinged and unapologetic in my expression on social media. So just know that that's what you're getting when you step into my world. But come hang out, say hello, send me a message. I love when new followers are like, "Hey, I heard you on this podcast." Like also, if there's something that really stuck out to you listening to this today and you want to like talk about it, I love that. I love when someone shares with me this piece of something and they're like, "Oh my god, like this changed something for me." Like I'd love to celebrate that with you and I'd love to know about it and hear about it. So come say hi.
Amazing. I've loved talking to you today. I feel like this podcast could go in multiple different directions for hours and hours and hours. we might have
I
to
like
do we
rabbit
might
holes.
have to do a part two at some point. but it has been amazing speaking to you. I love your energy.
Oh, thanks. That's such a compliment. I've worked really hard to really reclaim my energy.
Yeah,
And, coming out
it's
of that experience, it was hard. I didn't have this. And like to be reconnected to this again
yeah,
is one of the greatest gifts of my life. And so
amazing.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful
Yeah,
for every single part of the journey. And I'm just glad that I went through it so I can continue to share my radiance with the world around me.
amazing. And it's funny because like your energy is really, I don't want to say strange because it's not. It's almost like it's a fun energy, but it's really grounding and like just chill. If that makes
Yeah.
sense, it's really contradictory, but it works. I love it. I love it.
But this to me, like I love this about me too. Like this is what I love so much about the work that I've done because this to me shows that I have been able to really be the embodiment of the harmonized masculine and feminine. Like you feel my softness, you feel my groundedness, you feel my passion, you feel my energy, right? You can feel me being a channel for what's moving through me. And I'm also fierce and I'm also structured and I also have direction and strategy in my approach to how I show up, right? But it's like having the structure and the flow so that you can be this like multifaceted, multidimensional, like super uber sexy, amazing human.
Yeah, definitely. And on
Thanks.
that note, thank you everybody for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed having this conversation. And see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I know these conversations aren't always easy to sit with, so we really appreciate you sticking through it. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can join our Discord community at www.haleyryan.co.uk/Discord, and we'll see you next week.